Hey, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome to another episode of the Shaman Circle. I'm your host, Allie Blair. Let's dive in. So today's episode is all about spiritual tools for self-compassion. Today's episode is all about meeting ourselves with compassion, with grace, with kindness, and what that can actually look like in practice. Now, if you randomly found this podcast episode awesome, I'm going to encourage you to go back to episode 5. If you haven't been following along chronologically, we have a episode that is dedicated to creating a sustainable self-love practice. So I encourage you to go back to episode 5 and listen to that before you come on over to these spiritual tools here that can help build a solid foundation about the concept of self-love before we turn that feeling or that frequency into action with tools and with physical practices. Now, I want to introduce the concept of compassion as an active spiritual practice. When we think about the definition of compassion, spirituality probably does not come to mind. But I want to make the case that the amount of compassion we have for ourselves can absolutely dictate how deep we are willing to go within our own spiritual healing. So, to me, compassion is an active spiritual practice. Another word for that is self-care. Right? Self-care is love in action. Now, why does the concept of self-compassion even matter? Well, it is linked to a lot of different things, my friends. That compassion is linked to our emotional resilience, to our ability to balance out our energies and our emotions. And self-compassion is tied to our spiritual growth. The kinder that we can be to ourselves, the more compassion we can have with ourselves, the gentler we can be with those around us. You know, a lot of us are walking around seeing a lot of miserable, weird, out of whack, crazy people right now. Sometimes it feels like you walk down the street and everybody around you is losing your mind, sometimes including yourself. Imagine if more people prioritize their self-compassion. You know, it's cheesy, but it's true. We are the change we wish to see in the world. Being around gentler, kinder people starts with being a gentler and kinder person to yourself. Now, a lot of us hold ourselves to high expectations. Any other Capricorns, entrepreneurs, anybody else out there? We hold ourselves to very high standards, very high expectations. And in turn, we often hold others to those same high expectations. And when we fall short, or when other people don't meet those expectations, we can come down pretty hard. I am sure I'm not the only one who has set an almost impossible bar for myself, and I didn't reach it, and I came down really hard on myself. And that inner critic was really loud, right? What could change in our lives if we found more grace when we fell, quote unquote, short? What could life look like if we gave ourselves more grace? What a concept, right? Self-compassion, and therefore compassion for others, can completely transform our dynamics, our relationship to ourselves, to our bodies, to our egos, but also our relationships to those outside of us. I also want to take a moment and point out the difference between self-compassion and indulgence. Right? There's this concept of, the difference between the medicine and poison is in the dose. So yes, I want to see you be compassionate, be gentle, be forgiving with yourself. But that doesn't mean we get to skirt around accountability, right? Self-compassion is not, oh, I ruined a friend's mood because I was in a bad mood and I showed up being a shitty friend, but it's okay because I had a bad day and they'll understand. No, there's still some accountability to be had there. We can be kind to ourselves and say, you know what, I didn't show up the best way I could have right there. I recognize I'm going through a lot of things, but hey, that doesn't excuse me being rude to my friend when she asked for my opinion on something, right? Like, we have space for both. We can be kind with ourselves, we can be gentle with ourselves, and still take accountability where we need to, right? So I don't want us to think that being compassionate with ourselves or prioritizing self-compassion means that we can just get away with anything and we don't have to be responsible for our actions. We're still responsible for ourselves, right? But when we make those mistakes, when we are simply human, we don't have to come down so hard on ourselves, right? Now, I want to switch gears a little bit. We're talking about compassion in some more meta terms. Let's get down to business with some more practical or tangible tools and practices for this work. First and foremost, always, the tool that I would always give you first is meditation. Self-compassion starts with being able to sit with yourself. Sit with the discomfort, sit with the grief, with the guilt, with the embarrassment. Oh my God, I was in the parking lot and I tried to back up and 3 people saw me and I messed up and I had to park on the other side of the parking lot. Okay, let's sit with that embarrassment and let's say, all right, did the world end? No. Did anybody get hurt? No. Did I look a little silly? Probably. Is that okay? Well, is it? Right? That example of being embarrassed with something, like, we don't then have to turn the monkey mind on and say, oh, well, you can't park, you shouldn't be out anywhere, you're not shit, you should stay at home. No. By the way, this is a very real example that happened today. I did not, I hit the turn right, my friend, and there was someone behind me and I felt all the pressure and oh my God, it was so embarrassing, I needed to park somewhere else. It was bad. And me 6 years ago, like, I would have gone home and cried about it. That 30 seconds of embarrassment in public would have derailed my entire week. But because I've sat with myself, I've sat with my discomfort, I've sat with my grief and my guilt and my embarrassment plenty of times before, I was able to sit in my car for 2 minutes and say, okay, well, I looked pretty silly. That was a little embarrassing. I'm gonna sit in this, I literally said this out loud in the car by myself to myself. I'm gonna sit in this embarrassment for a few minutes before I get out of my car, because you know what? God, for one reason or another, is helping me regulate and expand my nervous system this week, and I don't get all of these lessons right now, but I trust that I'm learning what I need to. And I sat in that embarrassment for a solid 2 minutes before I left the car. But that right there, like, letting the embarrassment be okay, was an act of self-compassion. I didn't have to come down hard on myself. I didn't have to be super critical. I didn't have to tell myself I was a terrible driver and I should turn my keys in. Right? That self-compassion allowed that icky feeling to just be okay until it was ready to let it go. So, long example, bit of a tangent, sit with yourself. 60 seconds a day, close your eyes, breathe deeply in and out of your nose 6 times. That practice consistently will absolutely help you develop a stronger sense of kindness for yourself. When you can sit with the heart, when you can sit with the ego, when you can sit with the inner child, right? All these different versions of you that want to need that attention and that nurturing. When we nurture ourselves, when we're patient, when we're present with ourselves, it's a lot easier to show that compassion. Another tool that I have in my toolbox that I would love to share with you because I have found that it works, affirmations. And no, I don't mean bullshit affirmations that you can't get behind. I mean real, tangible, meaningful statements that your body, your bones can believe in. One that I love is affirming that I'm human. I used that one today when I couldn't figure out how to back up in a parking spot. That monkey mind did start. She did start to say, you look dumb as hell. And I stopped. I said it out loud. I'm not dumb. I don't look dumb. I'm human and I'm doing my best. That affirmation, I'm human and I'm doing my best. If I can gift you anything from this podcast, all of the episodes, it is that affirmation. You are human and you are doing your best. Because first and foremost, you are human. And secondly, I'd like to think you are doing your best right now, knowing that your best is allowed to look different depending on what we're going through, right? But that affirmation immediately brings in compassion. I didn't fuck up. I didn't mess up. I'm human and I'm doing my best. And my best is enough right now. Right? Like, find yourself some affirmations, some statements of affirming that you can really get behind. I can get behind the fact that I am doing my best, even in that moment where I cut the wheel wrong, baby. It was my best effort at the time. Okay. And we got to be okay with that. That has to be okay. Our best has to be enough. Right? So yes, please sit with yourself and affirm yourself. Affirm yourself for that gentle correction of that inner critic, right? Gently, lovingly challenge that voice that says you're not good enough. Well, yes, I am. I'm just human. I'm doing my best. Another great way to help regulate the nervous system, i.e. to bring more compassion to your life, breath work. Calm those judgmental thoughts. Whether you are whether you are intentionally breathing in and out of your nose, you literally focus on your nose, focus on your nostrils. Maybe it's a more structured type of breath work, like Wim Hof breathing or box breathing or any other type of exercise. There are also an abundance of different journaling prompts. If you enjoy writing, if you're open to writing, that is a beautiful way to release lower vibrational energies to make room for the higher vibration, love, compassion, gentleness, nurturing, etc. Lone Wolf District has an abundance of free resources that have an abundance of journaling prompts. So if you're curious, go to our website, download some free workbooks. Something that I incorporate into my practice almost every day is holding my hand over my heart and saying something out loud that I'm proud of myself, that I'm thanking myself for the day. At the end of the day, one hand on my heart, one hand on my belly. AB, thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing kindness to other people even when it was hard. I'm so proud of the way that you showed up today. We gotta give that love to ourselves, man. Can you look at yourself as if you were your own best friend? How would you speak to yourself if you were? That is self-compassion, right? So a very tangible tool that I have, something that I practice in real life, is to make contact with myself, put my hand over my heart and out loud, using the vibration, the frequency of my voice, saying what I love about myself, what I appreciate about myself, or what I'm proud of myself for doing, accomplishing, or being that day. Affirm yourself out loud. You can try these little micro practices throughout the day. It doesn't have to be a huge self-compassion ritual. It takes 3 hours of your morning. But if you're sitting in traffic, say something out loud you like about yourself, right? Like do something, just tiny little things throughout the day. If you're on your lunch break, you're eating lunch, say, I'm so proud of myself for nourishing my body with this food. Right? Whatever feels good for you. Like try some new things, experiment, see what feels good, try something on, right? These are just different tools, different examples. You decide what resonates and what doesn't. The last tool I want to throw out there is the concept of habit stacking, right? Pairing a self-compassion exercise with something you already do. If you're looking at yourself in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth, be intentional about it. While you're looking at yourself, think about something that you appreciate about yourself, right? Like the routine of brushing your teeth in the morning or at night doesn't have to change at all, but can we be more intentional with that action? So I hope that you find some time or make some time to try out some of these different tools to practice the act of self-compassion. You heard me say this in the last episode when we're talking about creating a relationship to your ancestors. Same thing when we're creating that relationship to the concept of self-compassion. Progress over perfection, always. Consistency over perfection, always. One foot in front of the other, my friends. Celebrate the small wins. Look back after a week of practice and see how far you've come. You are in charge of your life. You are in charge of what your relationship to yourself looks like in life. All right? Now, we've talked about this concept of self-compassion, self-love, being kinder to ourselves, why it matters, what it can look like. We've talked about different tangible tools and practices that you can add to your own toolbox. You can try on, you can see what you like, what you don't. But at this point, my friends, I think I just want to start to end us here by saying you deserve this compassion. You do not have to earn it. You are inherently worthy of your own love, no matter what. No matter what anyone else has told you, no matter what that little monkey mind has told you, you are absolutely born worthy of your own love and kindness. So please, if this isn't something that you regularly practice, I encourage you to practice that kindness. Practice being patient with yourself. Practice being present with yourself. You are an amazing human being. You deserve to feel good in your own presence. And with that, my friends, I will leave us here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Please feel free to reach out, share what practices you like. Tell me what you experimented with. Tell me where your journey of self-compassion takes you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the other side.